Hello, everyone. Tonight we are stepping into a place where the air is cool enough to make your breath feel heavier, and the pines seem to lean in just a little too close, as if they're in on some ancient secret. You stand at the forest's edge, and the world beyond it feels quieter, slower, like it's breathing in time with your own chest. The path ahead is faint, softened by pine needles that have been falling for decades, maybe centuries, muting every step. Above, the branches knit together in lazy patterns, filtering the late light into slivers of gold. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And hey, before we wander too far in, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is right now. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soft background music, and let's enjoy our evening ride together. The forest isn't the kind that shows you everything all at once. It has layers, shadows tucked behind deeper shadows, roots that twist under your feet without warning. The scent is thick, resin and damp soil mixed in a way that feels like you could drink it if you really tried. The air doesn't just carry sound, it absorbs it. Your footsteps vanish almost instantly, swallowed up before they have a chance to echo. Somewhere to your left, there's the faintest hum. Not mechanical, not even particularly melodic. It's the sort of trees might make if they could talk in their sleep. The pines sway just enough to suggest a conversation you're not invited to, at least not yet. Their trunks are dark, some split with streaks of pale sap like faint lightning scars. Every so often, a low branch dips close enough that you have to duck, brushing against the softness of needles that feel cooler than the air itself. You notice that the light keeps dimming faster than it should. You check the sky through the jagged seams of branches and realize there's more than sunset coming. Clouds are gathering, thick and layered like a pile of wool blankets. But there's no rush, no sense of threat. Instead, it's as if the forest has been waiting for this moment, for the exact mix of shadow and scent and sky. The path curves, then splits, and you follow the one that dips slightly downhill. The pine trunks grow closer together here, and the air smells fresher, edged with the tang of water. You think you hear it, a faint, steady trickle that doesn't belong to wind or leaves. And then you feel it, before you see it. A shift in the air temperature, cooler and damp against your skin. You slow down partly because your legs want to, partly because there's a pull to the way the forest floor dips here, guiding you in. Your shoulders relax without you telling them to. You can almost taste the stillness, like breathing in the last page of an old book. It's somewhere in this stillness that you remember the rumor, half told, maybe even imagined, about a girl who can write the rain. Nobody ever explained what that meant. Was it poetry that changed the weather? Some secret language the clouds understood? Or maybe it was just a way of saying she was strange, in the kind of way the world doesn't quite know how to name. The wind shifts slightly, carrying a smell that doesn't belong to the pines at all. Ink, faint and metallic, like something that's been left uncapped for too long. It's subtle, almost gone as soon as you notice it, but enough to make you pause. Your eyes trace the dim path ahead, and in the space between one breath and the next, you think you see movement, something pale near the ground, vanishing behind the curtain of branches. The hum of the trees changes, lower now, slower, as if acknowledging your presence. And though you can't be sure, the path under your feet feels smoother, as though it's been walked before by someone who knew exactly where they were going. You keep moving, drawn by the sound of water that's no longer a whisper, but a quiet, steady voice just ahead. Somewhere in this deep, hushed part of the forest, the story is beginning to breathe. The downhill slope softens until your steps are almost flat again, though the forest feels denser here, branches lacing tighter, the air cooler still. That steady sound of water has settled into a kind of rhythm, a slow pulse you could almost match your breathing to. You catch a glimpse of it through the trees, a narrow stream curling through the shadows, silver in the dim light, like someone had spilled a trail of melted moon. The banks aren't steep, just soft and mossy, marked by the occasional tangle of roots dipping into the water. The stream moves with the patience of something that has no interest in rushing anywhere. You crouch near the edge and run your fingers through it. It's cold enough to make your skin tingle, not biting, just a quiet shock. The pine scent blends with something sharper now, wet stone and, faintly, that same ink smell you noticed earlier. Across the stream, you see her. Not all at once, and not in the way you might expect. First it's the motion, small, deliberate movements in the air, her hand arcing as if she's sketching something invisible. Then the color. The white of her blouse catching the last scraps of light, the navy of her skirt pooling dark against the earth, and the red scarf lying still against her neck. Her short black hair shifts just slightly in the breeze, enough to catch the glint of water-dimmed light. She's writing. Not in a notebook, not even on the ground, just into the air itself. And somehow, as her fingers move, the first drops of rain fall. They're so fine, you almost don't hear them, just the soft tss as they meet the pine needles. Each gesture she makes sends more drops spiraling down, threading through the branches, until the whole forest carries the sound like a secret. You don't move closer right away. Something about the scene makes you want to keep your distance, not out of fear, but respect. This isn't a performance for you. This is something she would be doing whether you were here or not. The rain builds. Still soft, never harsh. It darkens the trunks of the pines, makes the moss underfoot richer, almost glowing in the dimness. A mist begins to lift from the stream, curling and folding into itself as if the water is exhaling. She traces another shape in the air, and the mist sways in answer. You watch long enough to notice the pattern. Every curve of her hand matches the arc of a droplet. Every flick of her wrist sets a ripple on the stream. The rain isn't falling from clouds, it's falling from her words. Or maybe the clouds have just been waiting for her to give them permission. When she pauses, it's not because she's finished. She simply looks toward the trees on your side of the stream, her gaze moving past you as though she's looking for something else entirely. You think for a second that you hear her voice, not words, just a tone, low and distant, as if you're catching only the echo. The ink smell deepens. You glance down and see it pooling faintly in the water near your feet, dark and shimmering in the rain. When you look back up, she's no longer writing. Her hands are at her sides, and the rain slows, not stopping, but softening until it's barely more than a fine drift in the air. She steps back into the deeper shadows, and it's only then you notice the faint path on her side of the stream. It vanishes into the pines as if it's been there forever, but you're sure it wasn't there before. The hum of the forest shifts again, the pines leaning subtly toward that hidden trail, as though they too were waiting for you to decide whether you'll follow. You take your time crossing the stream. The water is only ankle deep, but the moss-slick stones demand patience, and there's something about this place that makes rushing feel like breaking a rule. Each step stirs ripples that distort the silver reflections, bending pine trunks into wavering, dream-shaped lines. On the other side, the ground feels different. Softer, yes, but also heavier, as though the soil remembers more footsteps than yours, footsteps that haven't been here in years. The narrow path ahead is barely visible, just a suggestion in the way the ferns bend and the pine needles lie flatter. You can still smell the rain she called down, but now it's threaded with something else, the faint sweetness of wet paper. The girl is there, a little farther along, moving as if she's been walking this path all her life. Her white blouse is still crisp despite the damp, her navy skirt brushing against the low ferns, the red scarf a bright mark in the dim undergrowth. You follow, not too close, not too far. The air is cooler here, The rain gentler still, almost playful in the way it slips through the canopy to find you. After a while, the path widens just enough for both of you to walk side by side, though she doesn't slow to invite you. She writes again, this time not above her head, but low, near the ground. As her fingers move, pale blue water seeps up through the soil, collecting into shallow pools that mirror the sky you can't see. It's then you notice that each pool holds something impossible, shapes of clouds that don't match the weather, faint outlines of places you've never been, and once a glimpse of a boat with a sail shaped like a feather drifting across a river of stars. The images last only seconds before they dissolve into ordinary water, but the memory of them lingers in your mind like something you almost remember from childhood. You glance at her face, wondering if she sees what you see, but her gaze stays on the path ahead, her expression unreadable, her pace unchanging. The ink smell is stronger now, clinging to the damp air until you can almost taste it, sharp and metallic, but not unpleasant. The pines here are taller, their trunks so wide it would take 3 of you to wrap around one. They lean inward, forming a vaulted ceiling that sways gently with the wind. The sound is deep, a slow rhythm like breathing, and for a moment, you swear the forest is exhaling in time with you. The rain she's written into existence begins to fade again, replaced by a different kind of stillness, not empty, but waiting. The pools she created remain, scattered like dropped coins along the path, each one catching the light in a way that makes them look almost alive. You have the sudden, irrational thought that stepping into one would drop you somewhere entirely else. She stops. Not abruptly, just as if the path has reached the point she wanted. You follow her gaze to a break in the pines where the light seems warmer, almost golden. The air here smells faintly of summer evenings, even though you're certain it's nowhere near summer. She turns to you, and though she still hasn't spoken, the gesture is clear. You can walk ahead if you want. Whatever waits in that golden clearing, it's yours to see first. The ink smell fades as you take a step forward, replaced by something lighter. Fresh rain on stone, warm resin from the pines, and the faintest trace of her red scarf brushing past you as she follows. You step into the clearing, and the change is so sudden, it's almost like waking from a dream into another dream. The air is warmer here, touched with a low amber light that makes everything softer. Edges blur, colors deepen, and the shadows under the pines stretch in slow, lazy arcs. The ground isn't the soft pine needle carpet you've been walking on. It's stone, broad, flat slabs with hairline cracks where tiny flowers push through. Rainwater still glistens on the surface, but it's the kind that seems to cling instead of run, as though the girl's written drops have decided they're not in a hurry to go anywhere. At the center of the clearing sits something you didn't expect, a stone table, weathered and low, its surface covered in shallow carvings. You run your fingers over them and realize they're not symbols or letters, not exactly, they're shapes of water, caught mid-motion, a curling wave, the ring of a drop falling into a still pool, the winding path of a river. The girl walks to the table without looking at you. She rests her hands on the stone, then dips one finger into a tiny puddle that's settled in a carved hollow. The water ripples outward, and you swear the carving beneath it changes shape, bending and stretching as if it's alive. She pulls the small notebook from her satchel, the same one she used by the stream, and starts to write. The pen moves slowly this time, and you notice the rain doesn't fall right away. Instead, the letters seem to hover above the page, faintly luminous, before sinking into the paper. When the first drops come, they don't fall from the sky. They rise from the stone table like steam cooling into mist, then into water, drifting down onto the clearing. The sound they make when they touch the stone is delicate, almost like the tapping of a soft drum. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the rhythm settle into you. The warmth of the light, the slow cadence of the rain, the faint scent of ink, everything blends until you can't tell where you end and the clearing begins. When you open your eyes again, the girl is looking at you for the first time. Her expression is still calm, but there's something in her gaze now, an unspoken invitation, or maybe a test. She holds out the notebook. The cover is damp but not ruined, and the page she's opened to is blank, except for a single faint outline of a raindrop in the corner. The pen is balanced across the spine, waiting. You hesitate. You're not sure what she's asking you to do. Write your own rain, maybe? Change the sky? The thought feels impossible, and yet here, also completely normal. The forest seems to lean in, the pines swaying in a slow, encouraging rhythm. The light around you wavers, caught between gold and silver. The table's carvings seem to shift again, their patterns rearranging as if ready to follow your lead. Her scarf moves slightly in the breeze, and you catch the ink scent again, fainter now, but still there, like a quiet reminder. You take the pen. The tip touches the paper, and the world holds its breath. The first mark you make is small, just a curve, barely enough to be called a line. But the moment the ink touches the paper, you feel it. A subtle tremor in the air, like the faintest drum roll beneath the surface of the world. The girl watches without speaking, her hands folded loosely in front of her. She doesn't guide you, doesn't correct you, she just waits. You draw again, this time a longer arc. And in the corner of your vision, a drop of water rises from the carved table. It drifts upward instead of down, hovering in the warm air, shimmering with soft light. You try something bolder, a spiral. The split splits into 3 smaller beads, each one spinning slowly in place. The pines beyond the clearing sway again, but this time the movement feels purposeful, as if they're following some rhythm only you and the girl can hear. Your hand grows steadier with each stroke. You find yourself sketching patterns you don't remember learning. Braided lines that look like rivers viewed from above. Sharp hooks that resemble gull wings. Circles nested inside one another like ripples frozen mid-expansion. From the table, water answers you in kind. Thin streams twist into the air, weaving around one another like dancers. They don't fall, they hang there, forming a shifting canopy above the clearing. You can see the sunlight catching in them, scattering tiny rainbows that slide across the stone beneath your feet. The girl steps closer, close enough that you can hear the faint rustle of her scarf against her blouse. She tilts her head toward the shapes you've made and with a slow motion touches one of the spirals. It dissolves into a soft mist that curls around you before vanishing entirely. There's no hurry now. You draw, she responds, and the forest listens. Even the occasional bird call has softened, as though every living thing here has agreed to give your reign its moment. After a while, minutes, hours, you can't tell. You stop. The page is full, a tangle of lines and curves that somehow feel like they belong together. You set the pen down, and the air shifts. The canopy of suspended water releases all at once, not in a downpour, but in thousands of delicate, separate drops. They fall in perfect silence, landing without a splash, sinking straight into the stone as though it's breathing them in. The girl takes back the notebook.
She doesn't look at the page you filled. Instead, she closes it gently, tucks it into her satchel, and gives you the faintest nod. It's the kind of gesture that says you've done something right, even if you don't fully understand what. Then she turns away from the table and begins walking toward the far side of the clearing, where the stone gives way to pine needles again. You follow, your steps quiet, the air still holding the faint scent of rain that never quite touched the earth. Somewhere ahead, the path narrows, swallowed again by the forest. But now, each step feels different, lighter, as if some small piece of the sky is following you.
The pine forest has quieted even further now, its branches holding still in the cool night air, as if the world has agreed to pause for your last few steps. You walk slowly, your shoes pressing into the softened earth where rainwater has seeped down deep. Each step makes a muted sound, a damp hush, and you can almost feel the ground breathing beneath you, exhaling the scent of moss and old needles. Up ahead, the girl stands at the edge of a small clearing, her short black hair glinting faintly in the pale silver wash of the moon. Her white blouse catches the light like a page half-turned in a forgotten book, the navy skirt hanging straight and still, the red scarf slack now against her chest, as if even the wind is too tired to stir it. She doesn't speak, doesn't wave, just waits, holding her little brass-bound notebook against her hip, like she's been expecting you all along. You don't ask anything, not now. Words feel unnecessary, almost rude, as though the night itself is listening. Instead, you move beside her, eyes drawn toward the horizon where the pine forest gives way to the faintest glow. No fire, no lamp, but the shimmering reflection of rain falling somewhere far away. She glances at you, and without a sound she begins to write in the air again, the tip of her pencil sketching invisible lines that you can somehow see. They ripple upward like threads of water, fine and bright, joining the clouds above. And then the rain begins. Not all at once, but in a slow, careful way, each drop distinct, spaced apart so you can hear them land one by one. They tap gently on your shoulders, slide down your cheek, darken the fabric of your sleeves. It feels like she's written your name into the weather, like this rain knows exactly who you are. The forest shifts under its touch, pine needles releasing their perfume, the trunks gleaming darker, the air thickening with the clean weight of water. She writes, and the rain answers, growing steadier, but never harsh, never cold. The sound folds around you, the earth's soft percussion mixing with the distant whisper of the stream you crossed earlier. You can feel your body loosening, every knot in your chest untying, every restless thought floating away to join the night. Eventually, the girl closes her notebook, tucks the pencil behind her ear, and looks out over the forest like she's making sure the rain will keep going without her. Her eyes are calm, as if she's given away something important but knows it will grow better in someone else's hands. She starts walking back the way you came, and you follow without a word, the path glistening faintly ahead of you. The deeper you walk into the forest, the more the edges of the world seem to blur. The moon fades into a soft glow, the trees bend a little closer, and the sound of the rain slows down until it becomes something else, like the slow breathing of the forest itself. Your steps feel heavier now, not from effort, but from the gentle pull of sleep that has been following you from miles. By the time you reach the place where you first saw her, you can't remember if you've been here before tonight or if this is the very first time. She stops, turns toward you just slightly, and there's a faintest curve of a smile, one that holds both farewell and reassurance. Then she's gone, not into the trees, not into the air, just gone, as if she stepped into the space between drops of rain. You stay there for a moment, letting the forest breathe around you, letting the night wrap itself closer. The rain is softer now, just a mist brushing over your skin, and you can barely tell where it ends and your own thoughts begin. Somewhere in the distance, a pine branch shakes loose a few drops, and the sound is so gentle, so final, that you close your eyes and let it be the last thing you hear. Everything is still, everything is safe, and in that quiet, with the forest leaning over you like an old friend, you let yourself drift, slowly, into the kind of sleep that feels like rain, soft, endless, and warm.